Hello everyone, I'm Mike D'Angelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your retro review of Zombies Ate My Neighbors by LucasArts. Back in the good old days, that's the late 80s and early 90s for those keeping track, just about any idea was fair game. We had everything from swashbuckling newbie pirates to robot-building geniuses to amorphous balls of pink fluff, and beyond. Of course, one of the go-to tropes of video games and pretty much all fiction was zombies. Thus, gamers in 1993 were in for a treat when LucasArts teamed with Konami to release Zombies Ate My Neighbors. There isn't really much to say about the story beyond what the title implies, but the game did have subtle nods to what was going on as you progressed as Zeke or Julie towards the final encounter with the game's antagonist, Dr. Tongue. Along with all your common cliched monsters from horror movies, such as vampires, chainsaw-wielding madmen, and werewolves, besides the titular zombies, the game featured the mad scientist character. Dr. Tongue's reckless use of radioactive waste is what brought the creatures into existence, so it's only natural to save the neighbors on your way to his demented abode. The title isn't just thrown out there for the sake of making the game sound more awesome. You do in fact have to save these aforementioned neighbors from becoming zombie chow. For the most part, they're just a way for you to gain an extra few points throughout the levels, but if you fail to save all of them, you lose a life. You're given further encouragement to save everyone based on how genuinely happy everyone seems, in spite of this obvious coming of the apocalypse. Cheerleaders, tourists, and backyard chefs are oblivious to their impending doom. And don't even get me started on whichever ass-bag parents just let their babies wander off doing whatever they like. The game is pretty addicting, thanks to a lot of the variety that they throw at you. There are plenty of different, ridiculous weapons that you can use to take down the monsters, from water pistols to plates and even bazookas. There's also tons of secrets and Easter eggs that LucasArts puts to the test. Last but not least, the co-op mode is done really well and has helped to establish the game's cult status. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is certainly not groundbreaking by any means, but the presentation also will not disappoint you. For a 16-bit game, the graphics were pretty sharp on both the Super NES and the Genesis, and it stood the test of time rather well. It doesn't hurt that the variety between levels were switched up quite a bit, so you're not watching the same thing for hours on end. One of the most acclaimed parts of the game falls on the music, however. The tunes were top-notch, and you could argue that they were some of the best of the generation. One of the first things that you might notice is that in spite of the game's horrific nature, the effects are relatively benign. Blood was changed to purple ooze, and you never actually see any real damage done to anyone. In several other countries, the game wasn't even called Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It was shortened to the less exciting but just as correct Zombies. Those same countries also changed parts of the game. For example, those Texas Chainsaw Massacre clones were changed. They were instead just cranky lumberjacks. LucasArts didn't take the critical acclaim of this game for nothing either. They followed this game with two other releases, though neither of them captured the same flair or cult status. Ghoul Patrol was developed by a third party and used the same engine and characters, but adapted a great deal of the mechanics. And LucasArts also developed Herc's Adventures for the PlayStation and Sega Saturn, a game that was in the same vein as Zombies but focused on ancient Greece instead of horror flicks. As has become ritual for LucasArts, they had some not-so-subtle nods towards some of its other franchises as well. Also, though it still has a long way to go, there has been talk of a Zombies Ate My Neighbors feature film in the near future. With all the things that went into this game, it really is no wonder that it was so well received and has become such a staple of its time. The addictive nature and wide variety of ways to play really extends the value, and the co-op definitely adds to the mix. You can find Zombies Ate My Neighbors on the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and Master System. It's also recently been released on the Virtual Console.